This is about loneliness. It says loneliness is a plague here. The wave of loneliness flooding the world makes people address it. I want to talk about it in context of ShanAnn Watts especially, because I will look at the way social media is related to according to this research, to the feeling of being alone. First of all, feeling lonely and being alone is not the same, because you can be with other people and still feel lonely. A psychologist called John Capiaccio, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, who recently passed away in March, said that loneliness is not necessarily bad. He called it a reflex that is encouraged by natural selection. It's from evolutionary, it's part of us from also evolutionary perspective. And it motivates us to make contact with other people. If ancient cave people were isolated from a group, they would find themselves in a lower status. So loneliness encouraged a desire for for company of others. The problem is when it's long-lasting. To check how people feel, how many people feel lonely, economists and they made a research, and they turned out that 9% of the adults in Japan, 22% of the adults in the US, and 23% of the adults in Britain feel all the time or frequently lonely, not having friends, isolated. They used a questionnaire from the UCLA, 20 declarations such as I don't have anybody to talk to, I find myself waiting for people to write me. Another research published in 2010 appreciated that 35% of Americans older than 45 are lonely. From them, 45% feel loneliness for 6 years at least, and 32% feel lonely for a year to 5. 2013 statistic of Britain, 25% in Britain of 52 and older are feeling often lonely, and 9% very frequently. In UK, 41% of British people 65 years and older see TV and their pets as their main source of companionship. So, before 1960, there were almost no people living alone. Today, in many cities in the world, including Stockholm, many homes include one person only. People choose to live alone. That's an act of independence. But in many wealthy countries, people live alone because of divorce or the death of their spouse. And loneliness, okay, let's talk to social media. From 1985 to 2009, the social media of Americans, people that they can turn to, has become less than a third. So let's see the connection to social media. Actually, let's look. And ShanAnn Watts. Americans 19 to 32 years old, from the University of Pittsburgh, 25% of people who did the highest use of social media were the ones with the biggest chance, twice as much, to report loneliness, comparison to people who didn't use it as much. It's not clear if the people are using social media, it makes people lonely, or the opposite, because they're lonely, they turn to social media. And not clear if it's connected to depression. but too much or too little is not good. In Japan, people use robots now. In Britain, actually, the National Health Service are using now more, they're sending patients to do social activities rather than give them chemical medication. Remember that ShanAnn Watts encouraged using this Thrive products to feel better? And she seemed so friendly, and yet she was on social media so often. And if she had a good marriage, why didn't she speak to her husband? Peace, light, and love.